I'm speaking to the woman who's going to be marrying us. My dad comes over, pint of Guinness in one hand, and he's like, "Carl," and I was like, "Oh fuck, he's pissed." And he was like, "It's not too late to just fuck off, you know." And I was like.
Welcome, episode 14, Brothers of Purpose. Today we got Cal Christie, good mate of mine, and been wanting to get you on for a while. How you doing?
How we doing, bro?
Good, mate. Good to
One
get
of
you
them
on.
as well.
Yes, mate.
Love it.
Yeah,
First of all, thank you very much for having us on, lads.
Cheers, mate.
I appreciate it. So, a little bit about myself.
Yes,
I
please.
have just turned 29 years old, getting ever closer to 30 now.
Yeah, man.
Countdown is on. I am a barber from Newcastle, part owner of Rascal's Low Friar Street and director of Rascal's Education as well, which is our new barbering education business that myself and Sam have set up. And yeah, other than that, like I'm into my fitness.
Guy, man.
Yeah, into my fitness. Married last year, so
Congrats.
Yeah, man.
aye, that's a little bit about myself anyways.
Awesome. And I mean, you've been my barber for probably 2-3 years now. But I know I've known quite a lot of people that have known you from the past, so I know that you've always been fairly customer focused in everything you've done. But your life was a little bit different before barbering, wasn't it?
Yeah, I feel like I've lived about 5 different lives when it comes to careers. So how that looks for me, originally I got into nightlife when I was 17. Reason I got into nightlife was both my cousins were actually in nightlife. One was a DJ, DJ'd in clubs in town and in Ibiza, and other cousin was a club promoter who later went on to Geordie Shore as well. So the nightlife scene in my family was
Newcastle?
Where I'm from.
Newcastle nightlife or Sunderland?
Newcastle nightlife. Yeah. So from Sunderland, but always Newcastle nightlife.
We'll do that.
Does Sunderland have a nightlife?
I'm not too sure. I don't know if it would have many if it does.
The nightlife in Sunderland ended up actually getting really good. There was a group of lads, well, there's a DJ from Sunderland called Solly, and they used to run events called Haze, and that was pretty good. All kind of like deep housey events.
The Sunderland crew, like
Probably shouldn't have done that. Right?
No, nightlife was fairly good at one stage, like. But yeah, always Newcastle nightlife. I then left nightlife to go into car sales. I was in a relationship at the time. Felt like me.
It's tough car sales, isn't it?
Yeah, felt like I wanted to do something a little bit different, get a proper job, as it were. Moved into car sales. Car sales was awesome. It taught us like how to be professional with customers. It taught us like how demanding bosses can be. Like it was like an old school like you got to fucking tell an offer if you didn't do your job kind of thing. And being in that at like 18, 19 was like an eye opener.
We started
That's
off
good.
in sales.
I always think, you don't always have to end up in sales and doing that, but I think if you do it at some point in your career, you do a hardline sales role.
Yeah.
It's gonna teach you a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
You see a lot of people, I think, who, especially with what we were doing, we used to do door knocking. Like that was how I first met this guy, and it was brutal.
Field sales.
But,
yeah.
You know, walking around, I did it around London, walking around in like the middle of winter, just getting told to fuck off by everyone. Yeah. But it teaches you a lot. And I think you get people who leave it and go, that's the worst industry in the world, and they have nothing good to say. But if you take a lot from it, a lot of skills you probably use now, you'll come from that and the nightlife.
Totally. Like a huge thing for me was when I left nightlife the first time, I'd went because I wanted to take a job straight away, and I was applying to be a car sales apprentice. There was a company called Benfield at the time that did that. So while I was waiting to hear from them, I'd actually got a job in telephone sales, right? And I was there for like 3 weeks, and they were showing us my manager, who was earning like £16,500 a year. This will have been 10 years ago. And the starting salary for a car sales apprentice was like 18. And when I'd went in at the telephone sales, it was like 14.
Yeah.
So then like, I remember taking a call. You weren't allowed to answer your phone on the call floor, but I was waiting for a call. That, by the way, the interview process to be a car sales apprentice was mental.
Right.
So like you had to go in, do a presentation. They would then have the general managers from all of the dealerships in the Northeast sat round a table.
Wow.
And you had to present to them why you wanted to be a car salesman.
That's pretty sick.
Yeah. It was intense. Like
That's going to
I was
qualify
doing
people.
things that I didn't even like. I got this like leg twitch when I was up there, and I was like, that's never happened. But I was just booming with adrenaline. Like, do you know what I mean? I was just this nervous energy. Anyways, I was on the call center floor and my phone started going. So I just left whoever I was on the phone with, went and answered the phone. The guy from VW saying, you've got a job if you want it. So Dawn, who was the head of the call center floor, had said like, I need to see you in my office. I heard you've like left during it. And I was like, yeah, well, I've been offered a job as a car sales apprentice. It's really what I want to do. She was like, oh, well, you're fired. And I was like, well, okay, well, this was me saying I was leaving anyways. But I was like, and she was like going on about this opportunity and everything. And she just wanted to keep her staff, which I get. That's shit from me. Like, I've been there 3 weeks and I'm leaving. But at the same time, I was like, the guy who you're telling me that I should be looking up to is earning less than I'm going to get this job as a car sales apprentice. So
that's hard to qualify that. I think exactly the same.
That was it. And I enjoyed the car sales. It was long hours, like super long hours. 6 days 1 week, 5 days the next. 8 till 7 during the week, working Saturdays, working Sundays. But that's why I work just as hard now. Do you know what I mean?
You do, mate.
But
you put the hours in.
But yeah, it gives you that work ethic. Do you know what I mean? It totally does. I then left car sales to go back into nightlife because car sales, I was like, I'm kind of capped at this and I don't know if this is what I want to do forever. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I went back into nightlife. One of my best mates was director of a nightclub at the time. He said, come and work for me while you're figuring out what you want to do. And I look at him like, he's like my big brother. Like, do you know what I mean? So I was like, right, let's go in there. I'll have a bit of fun while I'm figuring out what I want to do.
Yeah.
I ended up getting a lot of responsibility very quickly. Really enjoying it. And then
it was good fun.
Yeah, it was so much fun. It was fun going back to it. Once I'd been in car sales and I'd learned all these different things to then go back to that and be a little bit older.
Was it a house or bomber?
No, it was Tup Palace.
Tup.
So I'd initially started working for an event called House. So a guy that I'm best friends with again now asked us to go and work for an event. I did that for a little while. I was really wanting to go and work at House of Smith because it was the cool place at the time. It's where my cousin worked. Yeah. He ended up going on TV. My mate took his job and then he brought me over with him. And then we all moved from there to Tup. And then when I went back, it was just Tup.
So I think you've always, from what I've noticed and what people have told me, is anything you've done, you've progressed in.
Yeah.
Where's that sort of, that drive come from? Have you always had that?
Yeah, I would agree with that. I think anything that I'm doing, I like to be good at. I know everybody says that like they respond well to praise, but I like really respond well to praise. Like if I'm doing a good job, like it's not even necessarily about the job. Yeah. It is getting praise from whoever's above us. Do you know what I mean?
I love that because I was talking to someone about that the other day. I was like, I need that recognition. And I'm not ashamed to say it. You know, I like pushing myself to know that I can look around and go, I'm the best in here right now.
It drives self-belief as well. Like, you know.
Totally. The harder you work, the more results you get. The harder you push, the better results you get, I guess. Yeah.
Because you push yourself in a lot of different aspects. I mean, we'll go into all, but you've pushed your body a lot. You've pushed your career. You're pushing the needle in a lot of different areas.
Yeah.
So you're balancing a lot of different things, and but you seem to sustain it. Was there sort of a bit of a switch you flicked with that, or have you always been able to manage these things?
I wouldn't say I've always been like driven in regards like I can always like if I'm focused on something like I give it everything.
Yep.
I don't half-ass things. I would say that like I have like really went like intense on things and then like pulled back and never done them again. Do you know what I mean? It would be more like struggle with the like longevity of projects. Do you know what I mean? Hence all the different career changes until I found something that I like loved, which is barbering. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then all of the things that are coming with that I just totally didn't expect. But it's all just, part and parcel.
Were you always passionate about barbering, or was this?
So I've been asked this quite a lot. Like, how did you decide? Because I was like,
it's a big change.
22 when I went into barbering. I had a mortgage with me mum. I had missus at the time who weren't engaged, but I was with Kat at the time. And it was a big career change because I was like, am I going to be any good? I wasn't particularly like an artsy kid in school. Do you know what I mean? But one thing that I had always done, like, and I always loved hair, my own hair. So like when I was like, remember like Fernando Torres when he played for when he played for Liverpool and he had the blonde hair.
Give me nostalgia.
Yeah. So like I was in my mum's hairdressers, foils in me hair, like the big heater over like every few weeks getting me highlights redone. I was like, it was right next to where I used to play football as well. And I was like, please no one walk past, like none of the lads walk past while I've got these foils in my hair looking like an old lady. But I'd always been passionate about my hair. Like I'd always tried loads of different styles. I wasn't always like going with the current trend. I was actually a client of Sam's before I worked there, and he used to love it when I come in because I would always be wanting to do something like changing up my hair.
Yeah.
So then I think with barbering, there was a lot of aspects that I like. A, I love hair. B, it's a social job. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I'm just talking to people all the time, and I love talking to people.
It's like a creative equivalent of being a PT.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I would totally agree with that. There was like parts of us that have thought at some stage like maybe that would be an avenue.
Yep.
The more that I look at my career, the fact that I did nightlife and then car sales, it's a fucking miracle I didn't end up as a recruitment consultant. Like, like totally, because that's how it works.
That's about 50% of that office.
You know what I mean? Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
I would on that note,
or in energy.
or in energy. Totally.
Yeah.
On that note, I would encourage anyone who's young around that age to go and work in nightlife. Because you learn so much about yourself.
Yeah.
Like I'm not like...
It gives you confidence as well.
Totally.
Yeah.
Like I am not naturally, or I wasn't naturally like this big personality.
Yeah.
I'm still not, but I'm confident.
Yep.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And a lot of that has come from like cold, rainy nights on the street, asking girls to come into your nightclub. Like, do you know what I mean?
See, on that, right, we were talking about this earlier. And I was saying, because you know, over the last 11 months, I've made big changes in my life. Yeah. Like almost night and day. And
that's been fucking awesome to see, by the way.
Cheers, brother.
Like, awesome.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Yeah. And we were talking earlier and we were saying, or I was saying, I still struggle at times to be unapologetically myself. I'm authentic. I know that. And I'm very confident with who I am. I'm a confident person. But I still at times see, I guess it's an element of, sometimes I still see people pleasing creeping in. But one thing I've always noticed with you is you are unapologetically yourself.
Yeah.
Do you think when that came into play when you were doing nightlife, or when was there a point where you just said, no, this is me, I'm going to own it?
It's not an easy thing to do, is it?
No.
I mean, it's like step 1 and step 2, be yourself.
Yeah.
And be yourself unapologetically.
Yeah.
It's a mouthful, that.
Yeah.
It's there's levels to it, right?
Yeah. I think naturally, I do care what people think. Like I do. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And especially the people that I love and care about, or people who I see that are like where I want to be going. Do you know what I mean?
That
I am like very. I would say that I don't think what would be the right way of putting it. I'm very thoughtful of people and their circumstance. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like considerate. Yeah, that would be a good way of putting it. Definitely. I'm not a type of person that would like lose their temper or have a go at anybody for like no reason. I don't see, if I've ever been in a job where I've been like, as somebody's boss, I would always give somebody the benefit of the doubt. I would never like flex being the boss kind of thing. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I think me being myself is just me caring about what people think, caring about everybody. As long as I'm like keeping myself happy, then I'm happy. Do you know what I mean? Like that's the top and bottom of it.
There's a deep wisdom in that, because I know it's not easy to get to a point in your life where you can be so compassionate towards other people, whilst balancing that out with, like, I don't want to say self-compassion, but like just taking care of your own needs.
Yeah.
It's not an easy thing to do.
No.
But it sounds like you've mastered it, man.
Yeah, I mean, like, I'm not perfect, you know what I mean? Nobody is, but I do try and practice it. Like, I really do. Do you know what I mean? I do think, like, that's the thing that I say all the time with Kat, because I'm like, especially last year, I was pushing myself financially, like, a lot financially for the wedding. We both were, me and Kat.
It's a beautiful wedding, by the way.
Yeah,
I don't even know how much that cost you.
But again, credit the Kat, my wife, because she planned the whole thing, and it was like something out of a movie. Like, I was there with my friends on the day. Like, I remember pulling Jordan to one side, and I was like, "Can you believe this is me wedding?" Do you know what I mean? It was just, it was wild.
Well, you want it to be a day to remember.
It was. It was like, honestly, the best weekend of my life. Like 100%. I mean, I haven't got kids or anything like that, so maybe's another best day of my life will come. But to this day, best day of my life. But yeah, I was pushing myself financially, like, quite a lot. I was pushing myself in the gym to the highest I've ever done. I was obviously still fairly new into business. The shop had been running maybe about 10 months, and we'd just started a second business, which is obviously the education platform. So like, I was like all over the place. That mixed with a bit of fucking starvation from the cut. And I was like, fuck.
Cracks in the armour.
Yeah, absolutely. And during that period, I was like, because I like to be kind of the shoulder to cry on, and kind of, sometimes I always say, like, if I could take my own advice, I'd be fucking class. Like, but sometimes it's hard. But that's the thing. I always feel like everybody else is all right because they've got me. It might be a selfish way of looking at it, but everybody else is all right because they've got me. However, like, if I was to crumble, that's what keeps us going. Do you know what I mean?
Love that.
Like, I just can't crumble because of the people around us that need us. Like, do you know what I mean?
Yeah, but that's a great way to think.
Yeah,
like, I love that. That's a proper warrior. Yeah. Like, that'll drive you forward. Yeah. Because you're right. Just talking through what you've done in the last 12 months, you've achieved so much. You've got the education business, which you might not, but I have a feeling you're probably going to underplay the success on that. But I know how successful that's becoming, and I think it's incredible.
Yeah.
How I've seen you build that Low Fryers site from nothing to where it is now. Yeah. I mean, you're talking weeks to get a booking in. Like, it's super busy.
Yeah.
You've got married. You've done a lot of stuff, mate, and you got yourself in the shape you did. And whilst all this, you then challenge yourself more by going, no, I'm not going to drink for 6 months.
Yeah.
And you'll do that as well.
Yeah.
You're still not drinking at the moment?
Haven't had a drink in 3 months and a week. 3 months and a week. It was sometime during October, I think, was the last time that I'd had a drink. But yeah, I set these little spells up for myself where I don't drink. Because
it's a nice challenge.
Yeah, but I feel like I'm a better person when I don't. I would never say to myself, I am never drinking again, because I've never hit rock bottom because of it. Do you know what I mean? It's never been like a real problem.
It's always been manageable.
Yeah, it's all, well, to a certain extent. I'll dive into that. But yeah, so I think. So actually, yeah, let's just go straight into that. So when I was in nightlife, I was drinking like a lot.
Yeah,
do you know what I mean? Imagine. But from being like 18, I was drinking like a lot. Do you know what I mean? And like, wouldn't be deemed as like a problem, but I enjoyed a night out, and I would be getting blackout drunk. Do you know what I mean? And like, drugs weren't a problem for me. So it wasn't like I was going to after parties or anything like that. Or if I did, like, 9 times out of 10, if I was personally going to an after party, I was like, unless there was a girl that I was like trying me look with, do you know what I mean? I would be sat in an after party like, why the fuck am I here? Do you know what I mean?
Got you.
So it wasn't like I couldn't let the night out go kind of thing. But when I was out, I was just having fun. And I didn't really suffer from a hangover. I don't get a bad head. I don't feel sick. Do you know what I mean? Like I don't need. I didn't feel like I didn't feel like I needed a load of sleep. So I was like, it didn't really make a difference. And I still kept that going even while I was a car salesman. I drank shit tons. I went back into nightlife and I was drinking it's like
part of the culture.
I was drinking like 2-3 nights a week, and I'm not talking like a few drinks. I was talking like bottle of wine in prees and like absolutely sending another night out, getting up and doing work the next day. And then I started, once I'd left nightlife the second time, I started being like, right, okay. I did have a moment where I started to think like, right, this could be a problem with like me relationship. Not that I'd ever like acted on anything, but I was also like, it puts you in them situations where things like that could potentially happen. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. And I was looking at Kat and I was like, I don't want to lose her. Do you know what I mean? And I just thought, maybe I need to try like a month of not drinking. So I think I did like 2 months and then I had a drink and I was like, that was good. Felt good while I was doing it. And then I did it again and then did it again. And then I ended up doing like 9.5 months. In 2021, I was sat in the pub on New Year's Eve and I was like having a drink at the time and I was like, I'm not going to drink for 6 months, starting tomorrow. And there wasn't any like, nothing drastic happened on that night out. Do you know what I mean? Nobody was just like, but I was just like, this is what I want to do and I want to prove to myself that I can do it. So I had a few driving forces behind that. A was because I love Kat to pieces and I didn't want to lose her. And I thought that like one of my pitfalls was probably the level that I would drink to. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And this wasn't like Kat would be getting home from work and I would be mortal on the settee. This would be like when I went on a night out, Kat would be worried because of how drunk I would get on the night out.
You become a liability to yourself after a certain
Totally,
point, you know what I mean?
totally. That's completely right. And then another huge driving force for that, which I haven't really openly spoke about before, so I'm not too sure how it's going to come out. But that was me dad. So I watched me dad, who, by the way, is like such a sound bloke. Like you would love him. Do you know what I mean? He's just like classic salt of the earth kind of guy. And my dad was mega successful. He was like he was head of electrical maintenance for an offshore oil drilling company called Dolphin Drilling. And I watched him go from £150,000 a year job to homeless in 3 years.
Wow.
And a large part of that was down to alcohol. Like a huge part of that was down to alcohol. If I look back even as far as like when him and me mum were together, as a bit of background, they actually broke up when I was like 3. Like most people nowadays. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, man.
And me dad is of that era of like, you finish work, you go to the pub, you have a drink, and you do that every single day. Do you know what I mean? Like every single day. So now he ends up being super successful. He ends up going and working offshore. And every time he comes, he's away for 8 weeks, he comes home and it's a party. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. And me dad, to this day, has never ever touched a drug. I know for a fact he will be totally open and honest with us about that. But it is just the alcohol. Yeah. And he loves it. Do you know what I mean? And it got to the stage where it was like every 4 weeks when he come back, it was like, and he had a 911 turbo on the drive and it didn't leave the garage because he was just like in the pub. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then it got to a stage after he'd been doing the offshore thing for like 15 years that he wanted more money. They weren't going to give him the money, so he didn't end up going back anyways because they were getting other people in to do this work for cheaper. So he came back, and then it's not deemed as a problem if you're having 4 weeks off it and 4 weeks back and 4 weeks off it and 4 weeks back, then it's not classed as a problem. But when he was back, that was it. It was just constant all the time, non-stop, from early in the morning till late at night. It wasn't just beers, it's spirits, it's whatever, it's wine, it's whatever time in the morning. And he had a partner at the time. He ended up moving out with a partner. He tried to go and live with me auntie. That didn't work because every night she was getting home and he was like fucked. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. And it was just boredom. But like the alcohol side of things has always been there for him, like from day one. Do you know what I mean? It was like, couldn't wait to get back from work so you go for a pint. Which a lot of people are like that. People are still like that, and it's not classed as a problem. But once he finished work and he had nothing else to do, that was it. It was just, it was like a 9 to 5 job. Do you know what I mean? It was constant. And I'd like literally went from the 150 grand a year to homeless. Like he'd spent 2 years just drinking and living out of hotels. It got to like 2020 and that was when COVID hit and he couldn't live in the hotels anymore, but he'd like burned through all of his cash. And I'm talking like he had like hundreds of thousands of pounds in savings, like hundreds of thousands, and burned through the lot. And it was largely down to alcohol. I think that like if he had that bit in him where he would maybe not drink for a period of time, he could have maybe sorted himself out. Maybe he's got back to work. He wasn't very old. Do you know what I mean? But that was a huge driving force for me to prove to myself that like I can go without alcohol, because like I didn't want that to happen to me. I didn't want that to ruin,
that completely.
I didn't want that to ruin my relationships. Do you know what I mean? But yeah, it's a tough one. Like from the outside looking in, because like, so let's go back to COVID, sorry. So then he ended up like, he had nowhere to live. Do you know what I mean? So I had to get in touch with, which was mad at the time, because I never ever thought I would struggle or have to be in a position where I was doing anything like this. But I had to find like accommodation for him. And I fully believe that the place that he went into, quite frankly, like saved his life. Do you know what I mean? I don't know if he would necessarily be like here now if it wasn't for that, because they were strict. Like they give him jobs to do. They told him that he can't go out and drink during the day. He has to be back at a certain time. Like, and I've had this battle with myself so many times of like, should I drink with me dad or not? Because like, am I enabling it? Do you know what I mean? Because we had tried before to go and get help, right? But I don't know if he necessarily wanted the help, or if he felt like he had to do it to tick a box. Do you know what I mean? Like, I don't know. And I don't think that he felt like he was ready to give it up. And there's like, there's no problem with that. Like, one thing that I've learned about, like, if you've got a family member or you've got a friend that is struggling with some kind of addiction, whether it's alcohol, whether it's drugs, whatever, giving that person the cold shoulder and cutting yourself off from them and giving them lectures is not what they need. Not in my experience. That pushes them further away, and you're just never gonna have that relationship with them. Do you know what I mean? I think that you just need to be there, love them,
be compassionate, be understanding of their situation, and if they don't want to give it up, so what? Do you know what I mean? Like, that is their choice. I think that people can be a driving force, like having kids or having a partner can be a driving force to making you think like, maybe I should give this up. But unless you yourself or this person makes that decision that they want to do it for themselves, not for anybody else, for themselves, then they're never going to do it. If you're pushed into it, it's never going to work. But that doesn't mean that you cut them off and stop loving them and doing all that kind of thing. And that was the conclusion I came to. I was like, I'm not going to stop myself from going for a pint with me dad, because he's going to go for a pint anyways. Do you know what I mean? So I might as well go for a pint with him. And like, it was
I relate to that so much.
Like, I'm not buying him bottles of vodka for Christmas, but I'll go for a pint with him. I was going on my stag do. I invited him to Ibiza. He was there with the lads having a fucking mint time. And that's what that's 100%. That's what you've got to be like. Do you know what I mean? Maybe it's different if you were talking about drugs, but like,
I don't know, you know, like mate, first off, that's amazing. Thank you for sharing that, brother. That's hit a nerve with me, because for me, I had to come to a conclusion with my dad where my sisters were like, I'm done.
Yeah.
And I was like, well, I can't be done. He's my dad. I can't be done with him. And I made a decision of, right, if my expectations are set right, then I'm going to minimize myself getting hurt. I know what I'm going into.
Yeah.
And I can still be there for him when everyone else has let him down.
Yeah, yeah.
Now, for me, one of the reasons I did that was because I knew back then I had a problem. So I was seeing my potential future. And I was like, well, I don't want to be left on my own either. I don't want anyone to abandon me. And I'll never be more thankful that I made that decision, because the last year of my dad's life, every day I spoke to him.
Yeah.
Every day, and when no one else would. And I will always have that memory. So, mate, I completely get what you're saying.
Absolutely.
It's
a fear, man.
People at the end of the day. Like,
yeah, of 100%.
Course. It's a disease.
I think I must have said this on every episode, but it's everyone's first attempt at life.
Yeah, yeah.
You know, so that's...
Well, 100%. That was my thing. I was like, what am I going to do? Like, give him a hard time and then I'm going to, like, make up for it in the next life. Do you know what I mean? Like,
what does it achieve, you know?
Nothing. Like
but, mate, that's so funny, because I completely agree. It's like, well... Still my dad, like you say, he's still sound bloke, right?
Yeah, yeah.
So like that's it.
Yeah, loving it a bit. Like he's class. Like it's not his fault.
Honestly, I wish more people had this viewpoint. To be fair, because like
it takes a lot of growth though. That says a lot about you, mate. Like and you might not know that, but I've seen a lot. Like I've seen so many people in circles around someone suffering with some form of addiction. There's not many people that have the outlook that you just said there, mate. That says a lot about you. Yeah. It says a lot about your character.
Thank you.
I mean that.
I think you get bad advice as well. Like if someone's going through it, sometimes like people gatekeep that person. Like, don't deal with that person.
Yeah, yeah.
Like, you know, so it's like sometimes we get bad advice on how to deal with people who are struggling.
Everyone's got an opinion.
I agree with what you said on managing your expectations, because I totally manage my expectations. Like I got, as I say, got married in August, and like, it doesn't matter if it's like Christmas or my birthday or anything. And you might see us smiling while I'm talking about it because I'm just know the crack.
Yeah.
But I'm like, I know that I'm going to have to say it to him. Make sure you keep yourself right.
Yeah,
do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because I know what he's like. He gets excited. He gets giddy. Do you know what I mean? He has a few pints and he's like, before you know it, it's went too far. And I was like, oh, like, please don't do this on like the wedding or something like that. Anyways, I ring him. I'm like, make sure you're all right in the wedding. He was like, aye. So this is at like 1:30. The ceremony's at 2. I'm speaking to the woman who's going to be marrying us. Me dad comes over, pint of Guinness in one hand, and he's like, Carl. And I was like, oh, fuck, he's pissed. And he was like, it's not too late to just fuck off, you know? And I was like, Dad, man. Like, I was like, a family in that. Yeah, do you know what I mean? He was like, I just want to, I don't know if anybody's give you the option. I just want to fucking let you know.
That would have been such a good plan in his head.
Yeah. But in his head, he probably thought it was great. And like, he barely made it through the wedding breakfast and he had to get taken home. Do you know what I mean? But that's fine. I'm just like, so what? That's who he is, and like I accept him for it.
Do you know? When I referred to my dad when I did my dad's eulogy, I referred to him as a maverick, right? Yeah. And I think there's characters like that. They're mavericks. I bet so many people have awesome stories about your dad, right?
Oh,
and like, do you know
endless, endless.
And I love
Man
that
of
shit.
the match on the stag do,
right?
Like everybody loved him.
That's what I mean. It's stories. And that carries so much value.
Yeah,
Man,
totally.
I love that.
Which is why you just shouldn't ruin them relationships.
100%.
Not at all.
That being said, like, I feel like I had an easier ride with that because I've got such a good mom. Like, I have the best mom ever. And I'm not just saying it. I would get, like, it's hard not to get emotional when I talk about just how good my mum is and how good a parent she's been from day one. Do you know what I mean? Like, literally, she would support anything that I could tell my mum that I was, like, leaving everything now to go and live in the Amazon. And she would be like, have fun as long as you're enjoying
Pack
yourself.
your swimming trunks.
Like the whole way through. And her and my dad's relationship the whole way through has been great.
That's amazing.
Like the first year when he'd went homeless. It was COVID, and I'd said to me mum, I was like, they'd been divorced 23 years. I was like, I can't let me dad have Christmas in this accommodation. Like, it just feels wrong.
Yeah.
So my mum was like, well, invite him round. So I was playing Monopoly with like Kat, me mum, and me dad on Christmas Eve for the like, and it's the only Christmas I can ever remember us all actually being together. I was like, this is fucking
that
wild.
That must have proper surreal moment.
Yeah, it was crazy. Like, but I think because me mom was so good at managing that relationship and my expectations and being there for me so much herself, like that definitely made my life easier. I couldn't imagine not having at least one supportive parent. Like if you've got no one, that must be like
unsung heroes, moms, man.
Yeah,
100%.
Yeah,
I got credit because obviously my mum, similar position at times. My mum made the decision to leave my dad because she thought it was the right thing for us. And she's asked me recently, do I think it was? I said, well, there's no point going into that because we'll never know the answer. You know, she was saying, do you think my dad would have stopped drinking if she'd have stayed with him? I was like, we can't answer that. There's no point. What I do know is the decision she made was probably best for us kids.
Yeah.
But one thing that I also saw was my mum had to put herself second so many times for me and my sisters. And when it came to a situation with my dad, obviously not exactly the same, but there was times when I imagine it was really hard for my mum. But she did what was right for us or what she thought was right for us.
Yeah.
So your mum sounds amazing, mate. Credit to her.
She really is. Like,
I'm getting a real picture of like how you've become now, mate. It's putting a proper smile on my face, mate. It's
so like before we started this podcast, we were having a bit of chat away, and I just thought to myself, like, Carl's a made man, but it makes so much more sense now.
Yeah, it does. I get it now. Yeah.
But yeah, a huge thing for me of like that switch, I would say, when I grew up was because of me career and definitely because like Kat gave us a lot of reason to change. Do you know what I mean? As I said earlier, like I didn't want to do anything to fuck that up. Like, do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And Kat's like not a classic private school kid, but I feel like I'm the first person that ever told her no to anything. Do you know what I mean? And like, it's only no for a moment. It's never no forever. It's just like no. And then I figure out how I'm going to do it.
Yeah.
But because she's got like like I couldn't ask for a better wife in regards to.
She knows her worth.
Yeah, totally. She knows her worth. She knows she knows how to like push me without getting on me case. But she's like, she wants to constantly like up the lifestyle, and I've got no choice but to run with it.
Yeah, man.
Do you know what I mean?
I always say every man's secret weapon is a good woman.
Yeah, I agree. I totally agree.
Yeah, you know, we've been talking quite a bit about this because I mean, I'm in a fairly, much newer relationship than you two. You know, it's sort of 6 months in.
Yeah.
But it's been my first sober relationship. And the whole thing I've always said I want is someone who I can build something with.
Yeah.
And someone who fully gets me, but also knows the good and the bad. Knows how to keep me accountable, knows how to push me.
Yeah.
Because that's so important to what I want to do, and I want to achieve that with someone.
Yeah.
And I see that in both of your partners. You
Definitely.
know, that's such a key indicator to a man's success is the woman they're with.
1,000,000%.
Balances you out, like, you know. I think as men will carry so much. Like, I can't remember who I was talking to about this, but like for women, like if a woman gives birth, everyone in society is like, oh well, regardless of what you've done or achieved, you've gave birth, you're a mum.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? But men, it's like we'll have so much pressure to make something of ourselves. So like when you're dating a good woman, a high value woman, there's a whole new driver.
Totally.
It's a whole new motivating driving force because you're like, not only have I got to make something myself, but I've also got to kind of prove myself to this person.
I could not agree more. Like there is no coincidence that my life has drastically changed in the last 6 years.
Yeah.
Like it is since meeting Kat that everything has changed. I would love to think that I'd came to this by myself, but I would say largely, like, because I did, I guess, make those decisions, but she was a huge driving force behind that. When I met Kat, I was like back in nightlife. I took like half my salary to go back into nightlife because I just wanted to do it.
Did you meet her when you were working and she was on the night out?
No, she was actually sales manager of the nightclub. Yeah. We met like first day. And Yeah. Like, so I'd been with her for a year, and then I'd decided that to leave nightlife and go into barbering. Would I have done that if it wasn't for her? Yeah. I don't know. I don't know if I would have just been letting the nights out carry on, and before you know it, it's been a couple of years and you're too old to change or whatever that may be. But she gave us a reason to change and go and pursue something that I enjoyed. I then did barbering for a good while, and then thought like, we'd got a mortgage together, and I was like, right, okay. And then I'm thinking like, wedding, kids. Like, if my money is just coming off the haircuts that I'm doing in the shop, like, this isn't going to be sustainable to have it to support a family. So I need the next step. So that's when the second shop had came about, the second Rascals had came about. And then I'm running that, and you get used to that money, and then you're like, right, okay, now I need something what's going to generate money while I'm not even working on it. Do you know what I mean? Because I need to be able to support Kat, support the lifestyle. I need to be able to I want to be a present father whenever I'm lucky enough to have kids. So that, like, Kat is just a huge driving force behind that. She's like, if I doubt myself, she's like, why? Do you know what I mean? If I feel like I can justify something, an excuse to Kat, then it's an excuse. But 9 times out of 10, I have the conversation with her in my head, and I've already dealt with it, and I don't need to speak to her about it. But she'll she'll suffer no fools. Like I'll get in, and I could be fucked off from work, and I could be like, the last thing I want to do now is anything. I just want to lie here and do nothing. And she'll be like, sticking her arm out to get like tickles on her arm, and she'll be like, go and do this, you need to do this, you need to do that, and not bossing us around, but just giving us a bit of a home life as well. Do you know what I mean? Like making it a bit. 100%. She would never complain about the hours that I work. Like nothing.
Because she knows the lifestyle.
Because she wants the lifestyle, and like, I don't know if I would get any shit for saying this, and I know every relationship is different, but to me, in a heterosexual relationship, if the man is the provider, I personally think that works better. Now, that could be totally up for dispute. Do you know what I mean? But
I think it's natural.
Like, you what? Sorry,
I feel like it's natural.
Yes,
for things to be that way. Not that it's easily achievable for everyone, of course, but
it's not. It's not. It puts so much pressure on the bloke. Like so much pressure on the bloke.
Without a doubt.
And it's not easy for the woman either. Like she's going to be the one that's going to be like raising the kids, keeping the house tidy. It might be quite
maybe boring. A caveat might be in a serious relationship.
Yeah,
because like dating is a whole different.
Oh, dating is different.
No, but I agree.
Like for a long-term relationship. Now I say that me nan and granddad both worked all of their lives. They'd been married 60 years. Do you know what I mean? But for me, the way that maybe it's not the way that I feel like works best for everybody, but the way that I see it working best for myself is that I'm the provider. I go out, I work hard. At some stage, I can say to Kat, you don't need to work anymore. And that would give me more purpose, more drive,
100%,
more satisfaction.
100%. I completely agree. You know, I was, my partner is moving. She, at the moment, her base is down in York, but she's moving closer up to here, and we're going through that stage where we're looking at, does it make sense to move in with me? How do these dynamics work? Looking at, well, the goal's going to be, you know, we get a house together at some point, we buy one, you know, put our money together.
Yeah.
And this, one of the things from her side was, well, I don't want, you know, she felt guilty because the reality was there'd be a period of time where I would be the sole provider. I was like, but there's nothing wrong with that, because for me, we're a team. And money is just one component of what makes that team tick. So if I happen to have that ticked off currently, there's so many other areas she brings value, which I require in order to sustain this.
100%.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, totally agree.
It's so, but they both carry the same value, because I can't do this. I can't continue to grow this unless these areas are kept in check.
Yeah.
So together it's a team, but I think that's some of the conversations we're having, is together understanding that they're both equal value.
Yeah.
Together, that's how it grows. That's how we become prosperous.
Yeah. I totally agree, because like it's easy to look at like money is the main thing because like whether you like it or not, like money is oxygen, isn't
100%.
it? Like like having any level of financial freedom should be everybody's goal,
without a doubt,
because that relieves one of the main stress factors, and I believe probably is why a lot of couples fail.
Yep.
Will be because of something like that. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I agree.
Or communication around it.
Yeah. So that was like when I was deciding if I wanted to get married. I mean, I was pretty deep in at the time. I had a house and a dog and like,
you were there.
But when I was deciding if I wanted to be engaged and married or not, rather than just letting the way that it should be make that decision for us, I thought, and I'm not going to sit and say that I journal all the time because I don't. I should actually do it more because I enjoyed it when I did it.
It's good.
But I decided to like go through and actually really write out like why I wanted to be married, like what I feel like it will give me, like pros and cons kind of thing. And a huge thing that I'd said originally was obviously my life got better and better, and I don't think it was any kind of coincidence. I think that was having Kat there for us. Do you know what I mean?
100%.
And there was a number of other things. I felt like me and Kat were like a really good team. When I first met Kat, she wasn't looking for a relationship. I wasn't looking for a relationship. But the love that we've got for each other just grew and just ended up, we got stronger and stronger. And as I say, we're just like this great team.
Yeah.
We're happy to have the difficult conversations, which we'll have regularly. Well, we have regularly, not that we've got difficulties in the relationship, but difficult parts of the relationship that people might not always talk about. Like what is frustrating me about you at the moment, or I don't feel like I'm getting enough love in this area.
And
I feel like, and we will have those conversations like weekly. We're constantly just trying to deepen the understanding between each other. And I feel like, again, that's just going to be something that continues to grow.
I think it's brilliant.
It's got to be
men
because
and women
like
as well will have like such different love languages as well. Like,
yeah, my lass is banging to the love languages at the minute. Like she loves the words of affirmation and all. Like she asked me, she was like, "What's your love language?" And I was like, "I fucking don't know. I've never had time to think about it."
Foreign to us,
as a warm-blooded man.
Exactly.
Sex is
Physical touch.
No, that's generally that is a love language for most men, you know.
Yeah. But yeah, I actually like tried to have a think about it, and I was like, this was only recently, and I was like, I don't know, maybe if you're like, and no, actually, serious for a minute. What I actually came up with was wanting Kat as a wife to be like proud of me.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? And I said, like, you can't just be proud of me. Like, I know that I need to keep doing things to make you proud of me. But long term, my goal is for Kat to look at me, which I'm sure she already does, in awe and be like, wow, that's my husband. Yeah. Like that for me is bigger than words of affirmation. Do you know what I mean? Like that's exactly what that would be. My love language would be having a wife that dotes on us, thinks I'm the best thing since sliced bread, and wouldn't want to look anywhere else.
No, I love that, man.
No,
I love that.
It's a huge motivating factor.
Yeah,
you've really found some great things to drive you. Yeah. And I mean, you've built up such a good base, and I know you're going to need it because you're not slowing down. You're doing some exciting stuff at the moment.
Yeah. Absolutely. So just to give you a little bit of background in what we're doing at the moment. So we'd set up the second shop. The second shop to set up was like fairly straightforward. Sam already had a great brand. Him himself has got a very good personal brand, which are both continuing to grow and grow. So once we'd opened the second shop, that was pretty seamless. The staff are great. So I thought, like, what's the next thing? And I thought I would love to do some education. Like, again, to give you a little bit of context, the Rascal's Barbershop page has got like 74k on Instagram. Sam has got 1.1 mil on Instagram, 2.2 mil on TikTok, 200,000 subscribers on YouTube, and he only started last year. Like, he is an absolute powerhouse when it comes to content and social media. Like, insane. And he works fucking hard.
He's got real talent with it.
Yeah. So I thought, like, let's use some of that. Like, a big thing for me, that what I look for and what I've looked for is, I didn't get into barbering at like fucking 15 and I've had all of this time and created all of this thing. But, so I'm not too bothered about being number one. But I love Sam to pieces, and I think he's like, he's an insanely good mate, and he's an incredible business partner.
Yeah, you two work well together.
I look at him 1,000,000%, because I've worked with friends before and it hasn't worked as well as me and Sam.
Yeah,
Do you know what I mean?
Oh, I've been down that road.
But I look at Sam now and I'm like, how can I make his life easier, or how can I make Sam and Rascals more successful?
Yep.
And then what does that look like for me? Do you know what I mean?
Very much like our dynamic, isn't it?
It's got to be, like I think people get too focused on being number one. And if you want to be number one, great, go for it, ballsy, like go and fucking smash it.
That's what some people want, that's what they do.
For me, I look at Sam and I look at the brand and I'm like, I fucking really believe in this brand.
Yeah.
And I think it's going to be as big as we want it to be, bigger. Do you know what I mean?
I agree.
And I think there's nothing wrong with being number two. Do you know what I mean? And if your job is to help somebody grow, then your job is to help somebody grow.
There might not be a number one without a number two.
Yeah, exactly.
True.
That's it. I mean, I think even if I wasn't here, Sam would still be smashing it. But there's been a lot of things like the second shop.
Yeah.
I knew, so in the shop that I was in at the time, is another lad who works in the shop who manages the other shop, Cal. Love Cal to pieces. He is a fucking insanely good barber. Cal had been there before me. Cal was essentially like number two to Sam. And I was looking at, right, okay, I don't think Cal's going to leave because Cal loves Rascals as well, which is great. But I'm never even going to be number two in this shop.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So like, where does that leave me? So I'd had a look at like business loans and had a conversation with my family, and I was like, I need to be prepared to go off on my own if Sam doesn't want to do this. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I was like, fingers crossed, praying that he did want to do it, because I wanted to work with Sam and I wanted to grow Rascals, but I wasn't sure how that conversation was going. Once you've done it, you can't take it back. So I remember messaging Sam, and it was so out of character for me. And I was just like, would it be all right if I had a conversation with you on Saturday after work just about where you see me future heading with Rascals? And at the time, it was just the one shop. And we'd had a conversation. I was just like, would you be open to, like, would you like to open another shop? And he was like, if you want a project, like, let's get a project. And I was like, fuck. And like within less than a month, we had a deposit down on a unit in town, which has ended up now being Low Friar Street, which has been running a year and a half and very successfully. So like, what more could you want from a business partner than to just back you like that?
Don't you just love entrepreneurship though?
Oh yeah, like totally. And then because that worked and that went well, I was like, what's the next thing? And I was like, we'd always kind of spoke about doing education. So originally the plan with the education was look and learns. So that would be where a group of people would come to you and they would watch Sam doing a variety of haircuts, take notes, ask questions, etc. So I'd mapped out a plan for that for the first like 2 years of what all the competitors were charging, what was included in their course, how many people we would get, how many, like what the days would look like. We'd done a few different run-throughs with like the lads in the shop. So we'd had these templates done. We did our education for the staff anyways, so we were just running it like how a day would be ran. So we were like pretty much nailed on to start selling tickets for the first one. Sam gives us a call and he's like, I've just met this guy. He runs a successful subscription-based service. We need to go online with the education. And I was like, fuck. I was like, because that was so out of, like, we did want to do that at some stage, but that wasn't what we wanted to do right now. And I was like, I thought we were going to have this, but now, and then we ended up having a meeting with Dario, who is now one of our business partners for the education. He gave us like all of this incredible information about his own business, went super into detail on his own financials and where he thinks we could go. But when it came to the tech side of things, me and Sam were clueless. Like, so he was like, "I'll introduce you to my guy who runs all me tech, guy called Declan." So then Declan came on a call and pitched to us everything that he could do and the platform he could build and the community that we could build. And we were like, "Yep, that sounds great." And negotiations started, and we ended up partnering up with them. And the two of the most hardworking lads that I've ever met, they've done everything for us. Like, we've been putting in the work as well, but like, they've done so much for us.
It's wicked.
And what that looks like is now is the Rascals education community is a platform. It's on school, the school platform. So the community is for free. It's currently got 4,500 members. And then we have the Rascals Education Academy, which is the paid version. So the paid version has been running since December the 7th was the pre-sale for that. That went incredibly well. That was all yearly subscribers. And then we went on to launch the monthly subscriptions, and that was on the 7th of January. So not long ago now. And it's huge. Bigger than we ever thought it was going to be.
Huge.
Is this how long we've got left, by the way?
It is, mate. No, mate, I think that's incredible. And I mean, we'll wrap it up, but I think
we'll definitely need a part 2.
100%, mate. I'm so proud, and just something which you will have never known this, but you know my journey, you know where I'm at now, and you probably won't know, or definitely won't know, but you had a huge impact on that when I came into the barbershop, having not slept for 2 days once, and you'd stop drinking.
Yeah.
And it made me go, what am I doing?
Yeah.
And then every time I saw you, a lot of time I'd lie to you and say like, "Oh, I've stopped," and obviously hadn't.
Yeah.
But you have a great impact on people, mate. So just keep doing what you're doing, and I'm amazed. Like, I'm so glad we got you on, and
thank you very much.
You've come across brilliantly.
Pleasure,
it's been insane to watch the journey. Like, it truly has.
Thank you, brother.
Appreciate you, bro.
That was wicked.
Thank you very much, bro.
I got sweaty hands, so I'll do that. Yes,
Love
bro.
it.
Wicked. Over and out.